we're gonna kick everything off, but because I know the room that I'm in right now, we're just gonna go ahead and do this.
I concur.
I wholeheartedly agree.
Okay, all right, fine. Fuck it. Let's do a tier list. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome. I am your friendly neighborhood cult leader, and with me is my lovely wife, Ollie. Say hello, dear.
Hello.
The first lady of the cult and the prettiest woman in the room. I also have my friend IceKold from the Dummast Podcast.
Yo.
And joining us for the very first time, Juan Aleman from the Wayback Wrestling Podcast and also the 80s Hour.
Thank you. Lovely to be here.
All right, so we're here because I am scant on content, and I said, fuck it, let's do a tier list.
Nice.
Because we are all huge wrestling nerds, I decided we'll do the worst gimmicks of all time. So we're gonna kick everything off, but because I know the room that I'm in right now, we're just gonna go ahead and do this.
I concur.
I wholeheartedly agree.
Yeah, I'm not. We're not even going to touch the subject. We're just going to put it where it belongs and move on. All right. So the first one on the list here is Cameron Grimes. His "Kiss My Grits" gimmick. Ollie, you want to go first?
Okay. So everything I remember very vaguely this ever being a thing. Turns out he got it from being in the stock market, but he was still kind of country. Nothing of it made sense. Everything was just kind of bland, but he tried to oversell it, and nothing worked. Nothing.
Ice, you got something to say?
Yeah, I like that gimmick.
Okay.
I like that Cameron Grimes. I don't like this new Cameron Grimes. I like Cameron Grimes before he hit it big on Doge. I think it was Doge he hit it big on it and became rich. I like Cameron Grimes. I think a lot of people like Cameron Grimes. That's the very first I've heard that people didn't like that gimmick. I would say, for me, solid gimmick.
Okay. Solid gimmick A. Ollie, where are you putting them?
Probably a C.
Okay. Juan, what do you got to say on Cameron Grimes?
Forced. That's the first thing that comes to my mind. It was just kind of like a forced gimmick. Like, hey, like Ollie was saying, if it was pushing hard enough, it would get over. If I oversell, it'll get over. It wasn't getting over. So to me, it was just not good. I give it a D.
All right. I don't remember it well enough, so I'm going to defer. So we've got a solid gimmick and a C. By my math, wait, Juan, did you say C or D?
D.
His is D.
B?
D.
D is in dog. You know.
D is in dog. Yes,
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Bruh.
All right, so where do we put him? Because he's going to wind somewhere in C or B based on just sheer
averages.
Yeah.
I think C.
Yeah. I mean, if you average it out, it's like a C or like a low C, high D.
Okay. We'll go with C. I'll give you that one. This one, man, I hate this gimmick. I hate it. Emelina. All right. Actually, you know what gimmick I truly hate the most is how they used her a few years back. Actually, several years back at this point, because I have no concept of time. When they were doing that tease and Emelina is coming. And then like when she showed up, she literally just walked out, did nothing, turned around and walked back. And that was it. That's all we saw.
Mm-hmm.
Emelina has had shitty gimmicks no matter what they have tried to do with her. if we're going on gimmick alone and not the wrestler and not the ability or anything like that, gimmick alone, that's a D for me. Juan, what do you say?
I have to agree with that. I think when they either try to repackage you too much or try to lean more on character than on ability in the ring, there's something that should ring a bell right there that says, maybe not so much, So with me, I have to go with a D as well, just on character, because if you keep changing, you're never going to develop a good character. You can look back at wrestling for so many years, and wrestlers from the 70s through the 90s or so, when they had a gimmick, 9 times out of 10, that was their gimmick. That's what they did, and they did it well. If you can't continuously do something well and they're continuously repackaging you, something's wrong. D for me.
I think she's the product of writers and producers in the back not having nothing for her. And it just seems like they just didn't know what to do with her. And, I remember the vignettes, and those vignettes were months. It seems like those vignettes were running like months before she debuted. And when she debuted, they didn't have nothing for her. And they just got tired of showing the vignettes. This is not her fault. And again, she's always had bad gimmicks. They finally brought her back. Looks like they're trying to do right by her now, but I'm gonna have to go. I'm gonna have to go D. No, I'm gonna have to go F, because that was bad. Like, it was. I don't even feel like, I feel sorry for her, but it just shows the writers in the back they just at the time didn't know what they were doing. They had nothing for her.
Ollie?
I would agree. So the problem is when they got away from just Emma being Emma, they had nothing for her. The bubble popping, I remember that, and I remember the song. It's in my head, and the little dance that she would do. That worked. I don't know why they ever repackaged her, because it really didn't need to be. It was still over. Even when they were trying to repackage her, it was still, people were still singing that same song. It's one of those things that just fit with her. It's the Emelina gimmick did not work because they did try to overhype. And I honestly think that this was a complete, I don't even want to say it was a writing foul. I think this was a Vince McMahon had his hands all over it, and then just they didn't have anything for that. Like, okay, here's this character, write something for her. She doesn't fit with any. What do you want us to do with this? This is a piece of garbage. What should I do with it? None of it worked. I would put that in F.
All right, so we got 2 for D and 2 for F. We don't have a 5th person here as a tiebreaker. I'm thinking of a number between 1 and 10.
No, just put it in the middle.
There is no middle between D and F.
No, what I'm saying is, can you put the icon? No. Yeah, like right there. Like,
no, it's
snap.
Yeah. Snap.
Okay. Yeah, you can't do halvesies. I got it.
Yeah, I'm thinking of a number between 1 and 10. Ice, what is it?
5.
Juan?
3.
Ollie?
8.
Ollie was the closest with the 8 because I was thinking of 7, so it's going to F.
Is that a bit meta, because I know you too well and I know how you work with your numbers?
Hey, no, we're not playing that. No head games here. All right, we're moving on. I'm gonna Heidenreich. Am I pronouncing it right?
Yes.
That's Heidenreich?
Heidenreich, right here. Ice, what's your thoughts on Heidenreich?
Heidenreich was bad, man. That was bad. That was just not good. It was so. I don't remember much about. I just remember it being bad. That's a.
And has snapped out of existence, maybe.
Yeah, that's a D, man. That was. I mean, at least he wrestled. That's why I can't put him in Emma category. We never saw that version of Emma even get in the ring, I don't think. So yeah, I'm putting that as a D.
Okay.
Heidenreich's a D. At least he got in the ring, but I remember that being bad.
Ollie?
I remember this one vividly. I was younger, because I was much younger, but I remember, and what I wrote down in the notes is what I remembered is the poetry and psychopath thing. He would have the absolute breakdown of rage and then recite poetry on how he was misunderstood. None of it made sense. It was was so bad. He would get booed out of the building every time. His wrestling ability was absolutely solid. They did him dirty with that gimmick, but I'm giving it a D.
All right, Juan.
I actually saw Heidenreich at an autograph signing. I used to live in South Texas, and there were a lot of retired wrestlers there. One of them was Heidenreich. And he talked about the poetry and said it was the most him he ever was. So I found that very interesting because when they put him with LOD, that other gimmick they threw him in, that really didn't make sense to me. But as the poetry goes, you're right, Ollie, and right, Ice. It was somewhere out there. I'm glad we got to see a part of him, but I think they made it over the top because some of the poetry was interesting, but it's not wrestling. So it's some of that time taken away that other wrestlers could be in there actually wrestling. So I have to give him a D as well.
I'm gonna ride with y'all on this one because like I remember seeing him, but I don't remember him.
Yes.
So like flat out, that's that. if I didn't commit you to memory.
It's like I remember bits and pieces of it, but not like it was so bad that with that term go away heat. Like I probably just turned the TV.
Yeah. Disney calls it go away green. And I will be honest, there's a lot of the wrestlers that are on this list that like I remember, but I don't remember.
Yes. Yeah, you're gonna get a lot of that from me.
Yeah. Next up is Funaki. I gotta say, I didn't mind Funaki. He was the product of the era, unfortunately, I think, when it comes to the gimmick, because they were like, oh, he's Asian. Let's just make a cartoon of it. He wasn't a bad wrestler. For the era that he was in, the gimmick felt unfortunately well placed because of the times and everything else. I'm gonna go with C for Funaki. Juan, what do you think?
I think you're right about his wrestling ability. He was a very solid wrestler. I liked him for a while, but the gimmick of just being over the top and then, of course, being #1 reporter, all that stuff really was horrible. It was horrible just to see that on air. And how do you go into a meeting and tell a guy, this is what you're going to do? Okay. Now it's going to be funny and people are going to laugh and you'll get over. It's not on his wrestling ability anymore. So I want to give that a D.
Ollie?
I remember this one vividly. It was right in where I started watching, and it was right in that ramp up. I remember being entertained by him. I agree with the fact that it was very branded for the time. His wrestling ability was solid, and I didn't even remember the #1 reporter thing until you brought that up, and then it all came back because he had that weird haircut, and they gave him, it was so bad, they put him in a suit, and it was very weird, and it felt like they were trying to shove him into a bunch of different places and try to find what fit, but nothing ever fit, so he just kind of fell flat all the time. I give him a C.
Ice, what do you say?
I'm gonna go with C, and I'll tell you why. And first off, I believe, well, for one, Kaientai was over. But they were a product of an era where everything was over in WWE. Like it was Stone Cold, and from Stone Cold, everybody was over. Like everybody paid attention, so they benefited from that. What they had, choppy me PP, your PP, that stuff would not, you can't do that now.
No.
So I'm still gonna give them a C because they made it work. They got the gimmick over. Like people genuinely liked it. I don't remember turning the TV from it. I mean, at that time with choppy my PP, I was laughing at it because I was a teenager. Yeah, it was over. I believe Funaki and I can't remember the guy who had the
Taka
Michinoku.
Michinoku.
Yeah, Michinoku. Yeah, they were over, man. I can't give that a D.
No.
I mean, it's in poor taste now. Yeah, you were good at it, but again, if we're talking about the era they were in, yeah, that they were over. Oh, that's a C.
All right, this next one is one of my personal favorites. I know a lot of people had issues with the gimmick, and had issues with him as a wrestler, but I absolutely loved Eugene. I really did. It was so weird because like that they were presenting it in a way that you were supposed to make fun of it, but he was just such a bright little ball of sunshine that you couldn't hate him no matter what. So I'm gonna say Eugene at least fits into B in my opinion. I personally I would probably put him in A because of how much I loved the gimmick and the character of Eugene. But if we're talking brass tacks here, I'm gonna say at least B, redeemed, because he was just sweet. Ice, what do you think?
I'm gonna go C, and the reason why I'm gonna go C is because again, just like hindsight, Eugene was over. Eugene was a crowd favorite. He would play to the crowd. He was really good at that. It seemed like, and that's what wrestling is about, man. It's connecting with the audience, connecting with the crowd, and he did that by doing other people's moves. And you were riding for Eugene. You liked Eugene. You wanted Eugene to win. The problem with Eugene, the gimmick lasted way too long. It lasted way too long, and then at that point, you just didn't care anymore. Eugene didn't evolve. Eugene didn't change. It was just, we're gonna keep running them out there until the gimmick is dead, and it died. So because it lasted too long, I'm gonna give it a C. If they would have learned how to kind of pivot somewhere else with Eugene or do something else with it, maybe a B. But for now, I'm giving Eugene a C.
Juan, what do you say?
I agree completely. It did last too long. Things were changing about it. Like at first, wasn't Eric Bischoff like his uncle or something like that, or his cousin? And then that disappeared, and other things were happening, and he liked a girl, and he didn't. And no, I just, as a wrestler, the guy was a pretty good wrestler, especially before he got in the WWE. But as Eugene, I agree with Ice. Just too long. Some characters that click for a little bit need to end sometime.
Yeah.
Give them some time to get hurt, reboot, come back. And what I mean by get hurt is kind of like, oh, he got hurt in the ring and he'll be gone for months, and it fixed Eugene. He is better now,
Yeah,
I don't know, but
something needed to happen. Something needed to happen.
I
but
agree.
It never did. It was the same thing. So yeah,
it ran into a wall. I give it a C.
Okay. I loved Eugene, but he was from Kentucky, so it was kind of like a hometown thing.
Well,
Problem. I'm going to disagree with you that it lasted too long. Simply because you are now stuck in that character. You cannot go away on injury and say, oh, he's better, he's fixed, because then it's like, oh, the mental retardation thing. How do you explain that just going away? It didn't. Like, you can't just do that. It doesn't just go away. I think once they got him stuck in that character, that's all they could do with him.
well, I know a perfect way to fix the brain.
Oh God, don't.
Yeah, Brondo. It has what brains crave.
Not only that, man, it was a free for all for just like crazy ass writing when Eugene was in there. You could have hit him over the head, and he could have been a genius.
Yeah.
The next week, like.
I don't think it would have been bought. Like, I don't think that would. I'm gonna give
It
it a
didn't
C. I don't
okay.
think it would sell.
It would have been bought because at the same time Eugene was wrestling, there was a one-legged wrestler beating people.
I like
at the same time, I believe, around that same time. So if that's believable, again, it's WWE. It's all you have to have that suspension of disbelief. They could have did something with Eugene.
Yeah, well, the WWE has always kind of been a soap opera, anyways. So the point of hitting him on the head and having him come back next week perfectly fine. Yeah,
Yeah, like
that's soap
like
opera.
if he would have been a genius the next week, that would have been hilarious. You know, like
Then they could have had matches between him and Lanny Poffo to see who would be the bigger genius.
exactly,
Dun, dun, dun.
exactly. See that's booking right there, man.
So I say the consensus seems to be put him in C. You know, I'm outvoted and I'm perfectly fine with that. He's still not below that list because C is still not that bad. All right, Paul Burchell.
I don't even know who that is.
Burchell.
Sorry.
Said it wrong again.
He's
who
the
is
pirate.
this?
Yeah, the pirate. Him and his sister Katie Lee. There was this weird type of incestual thing going on.
What
Between them. They were
organization was
pirates. They
this?
were all over. It was SmackDown. He was
WWE.
on SmackDown.
I do not remember that. I
They
have
came
no
out. There was like this
recollection
big
of this.
pirate ship thing, and there was like netting that they would throw down the sides. Like it was really weird, and it was always, oh, they're brother and sister, but they were always too close. It was weird.
Well,
I
it
have
does.
to throw my hands. I probably like if I saw it, maybe something would jog my memory. I just have no recollection of it.
You know, it does get lonely on a pirate ship. I'm just saying.
It was strange. Like I found it weird that they just put him in here and not Katie Lee as well, because Katie Lee was psychopathic. She was amazing as a wrestler, but this gimmick, it was out of left field. It came in. It was that weird part of SmackDown where I think it was like 2006-ish, like that weird era there, or probably was earlier. But it was so strange, and nobody got it. Nobody.
What's your rank, Ollie?
Oh God, Thanos snap it for the incest alone.
All right, Juan, what's your take?
I agree with Ollie. It was just kind of weird. They dressed him like Jack Sparrow, basically.
Yes.
He was a Jack Sparrow character. He even swung out on a rope, and then he'd land and he'd be like, "Ha ha," you know, like Tyrone Power or something. And then he'd go to the ring, and he was a solid wrestler. Actually, I think in this time, like Ice was mentioning a while ago, because it's around that time when Eugene was there and all that. They would just throw you in something to get you on air, and they had a big roster, and I think they were just throwing spaghetti at the wall. Hey, you be a pirate. I mean, you have an English accent. Gotcha. All right, governor. You know, because he earlier he came out as William Regal's student or something like that, didn't he? Paul Burchell. Yeah. And then he was a pirate.
That I remember. That's right. That I remember. I don't remember the pirate.
All right, so what's your rank, Juan?
Thanos, snap it out of existence.
I don't have a clear enough memory of the man, and I said he defers at this point. So yeah, I everything that you said sounds terrible.
I was right on the timing. I went and looked it up. It was 2008 to 2010. That's as long as he was ever in WWE. He was bad.
All right, let's go with the B list. Ice, what do you got to say about the B list?
This is a tough one because I want to rank them higher than I know most people would rank them, because these guys were good in the ring. They were over for a few weeks, maybe even a month. People was like, what is this B squad? What is this B team? It was the B team, right?
The B list.
B list. They were over for a while. And if I'm not mistaken, they may have won the tag team titles at one point. I believe they won the tag team. They put the belts on them for a week or so. I fuck it. I'm going D. I'll do it. Yeah, it was just not their best work, and I just hate the fact that Curtis Axel, and they couldn't do anything better for Curtis Axel and Bo Dallas.
So I'm gonna give you my.
It's like I want to rank them higher, but
I'm going to give you my take only because
Let me hear your take first. Maybe
Yeah.
your take can change my mind.
I want the sheer irony of it. I want to put them in the B rank because they are the B list. I like both of them, and I liked the gimmick because they were originally like, if I remember correctly, they were Mrs. Cronies. Miz was the A-lister,
Mm-hmm.
and Mrs. Cronies, they were the B list, and they were comic relief. One, I hate the Miz. I hate that I hate the Miz because that means the Miz is doing his job. And I hate that even more. But for some reason, I do like Bo Dallas and I like Curtis Axel. And this was a way to get them on TV. And it worked because Bo's got that goofy kind of fun vibe to him. And since they were acting as cronies for the A-list or thugs for the Miz, however you want to look at it, I don't know. For me, it just kind of worked. You're right. It didn't last long. And you're right. They did put the belt on him as a placeholder, essentially. But I don't know. I kind of enjoyed it, and I wish they would have done more with it. I don't know if I wish they would have done more with it because of the gimmick or because of the people involved. That's the only thing. But I do kind of want to put them in B out of irony's sake. Juan, what's your take?
I'm going to go with B with these guys too, because I appreciated what they did once they separated them from the Miz. Because they did separate them from the Miz, and they were able to continue to get a positive reaction. And the things that they wrote for them were actually funny, as far as being the B list. They wanted to get more B listers on their team, and hey, do you guys want to sign up on the B list? So they played it so well, and they're good wrestlers too.
Mm-hmm.
So they played the gimmick that they were given well. I'll give them a B.
Ollie, I'll throw it to you and see what you have to say, and then Ice, I'll come back to you.
Here's my problem. I don't agree with B. I actually would put them into A. I thought they could have done more as this B list. I loved this gimmick. I remember the weird t-shirts that looked like they had it drawn on like Sharpie B. Everybody had them in the crowd. The crowd loved them. They were so over that they were literally over the Miz. Like, as much as people could boo the Miz, they were over that level of noise in the building. People absolutely loved both of them. Bo kind of disappeared from existence a little bit after this. And then, unfortunately, Curtis Axel just kind of drifted along. Putting them together, they were an excellent tag team. They should have held the belts much longer. I'm throwing them into A.
Okay. Ice, after hearing what everyone else has to say.
You guys have upped my average. I am going to put it in the C category. It didn't last long enough. It was good though. Like, they were over. It should have though. Yes, it should have. But the reality is it didn't. I'm gonna put them in a C. I'm not gonna give them a D. I'm gonna put them in a C. They did have the belts. And I'm more astonished that you said you hate the Miz. That's crazy to me.
It's weird, right? Watching Raw or SmackDown with him when the Miz is on. Oh my God, it's like crazy because it's like, why do I hate you? And I'm like,
why do you hate the Miz?
Because I'm supposed to, and I do.
Don't open this can of
Then
worms.
it's working.
Yeah,
it is working.
That's what I said. That's what I said. I hate the Miz, and I hate that I hate the Miz, and I hate him even more for it. I didn't like him on. I didn't like him on the Real World very much. Okay, and when he came to wrestling, I was just like, oh look, it's one of these reality TV stars that thinks he can be a wrestler, and I've never let go of that. I know the Miz is good at what he does, and I hate really that I know that.
Like, really good at what he Hall of Fame territory.
Yeah, you
first ballot Hall of Famer, and he will close the show.
Yeah,
I agree.
Miz is a wonderful entertainer, but I hate him. I just hate him. I hate that I hate him.
He's doing his job.
I know. I'm fully aware.
That.
I'm fully aware of this. I make no bones about it.
This is a fight every time the Miz is on TV. This is a fight because I absolutely love him. I remember watching him when he first came in. I love the Miz. He hates him.
Yeah. Well, and to be fair, I shit talk most wrestlers just because it's fun. I like to yell at the TV like I'm an old man. But due to the law of averages, they wind up in B because Ollie gave it an A, and Juan and I gave it a B, and Ice gave it a C. So the A and the C equal a B. So that's 3 Bs. Boy, my math teacher in high school would be proud that I figured that out finally. All right, next up, we got the dicks. Ollie, you want to talk about the dicks?
He did this on purpose.
I love you, dear.
Okay, so I don't remember much about them because I was pretty young when this, and this is going to make everybody else here feel really old. I'm sorry. I was really young. What I went back and rewatched a lot because I was on the WWE Network a lot. It's what I just binge watched. I felt really bad for these two. They got misused very badly in a time of epic misuse. These guys were really, really talented wrestlers, and they got put into a Chippendales dancer. Really? That's what you could come up with, a Chippendales dancer? None of it made sense. It was just it was homoerotic in a time of homophobia. It did not work. It was really cheap, and it is bad writing. F tier.
Ice?
F. And I remember them, but I don't remember anything about them. It's an F. Like it's that same, like, let me turn the channel. I don't even want to watch this. Like, these guys were gyrating, and nah, I'm good. I'm good. This was an F for me.
Juan?
I'm trying to put my words together as I think about this. I am going to give him a Thanos, snap them out of existence, and because it's a terrible gimmick to throw two guys out there to do that. I don't know if Sean Stasiak is on here, but the meat character that they gave him,
God, yes,
is kind of like in that category. Sean Stasiak, these guys, solid wrestlers, go out there and act like you got a heart on. You can do that, Sean, right? And he's like, I mean, what is someone supposed to say to that? Same thing with these guys. Go out there and dance like your Chippendales dancers for everybody to watch, even the kids at home, because we're kid friendly. It was terrible. It was a terrible gimmick. And then it was picked up years later by Joey Ryan when his crotch could control people. Remember that? His crotch claw, whatever that was.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Have you forgotten that one?
No, that was a core memory unlocked. I remember it.
Yes. And I mean, he may as well have been a Chippendales dancer,
Yeah.
Anybody see Raw last week? They brought back the Chippendale dancer with Otis and Gable.
No, I did see some clips of that.
Yeah.
I didn't watch it. I need to go back.
It was actually pretty fun. I thought it was pretty funny. But
Juan, what rank did you give him?
Thanos snapped him out of existence, please.
All right. Well, I'll be the tiebreaker here, and I'm going to throw him into Thanos snapped out of existence because, again, it's one of those things where I vaguely remember these two, but nothing stands out about them. So, and everything you said, I hated.
It's like the more you talk, the more hate I give.
Yeah. All right, Ollie, I'm going to let you kick this one off because I know he's one of your favorite wrestlers, and I know you've been paying attention to him for a long time. AJ Styles, but the mini Ric Flair angle.
Oh God. Okay. So I've been following AJ Styles for a really long time. Like when TNA first started, I was watching AJ Styles back when the original. When Ric Flair left WWE and went over to TNA and that whole we're shocking the world, this crap picked up because he was phenomenal against Ric Flair's big overhead arching anything, and he put on the Ric Flair robe and would go out there and mock him. Now it was funny at the time, it was hilarious and it was entertaining. It felt kind of cheap because he just got there and they were kind of like looking for a way to use him, and pairing him with AJ, who had the really good in-ring ability and the charisma to back it up, especially that whole thing with the Fallen Angel, Christopher Daniels, way back then. He had the charisma to carry this off. It's not that bad. I am going to give it a C just because it felt kind of cheap, but AJ pulled it off. If it had been anybody else, it would have been Thanos snapped. Anybody else, it would have been that. But this was actually kind of funny, so I am going to put it in a C.
Ice, your take?
Didn't like it at all. And the reason why I didn't like it, because I saw Ric Flair retire when Shawn Michaels retired him. So when he went over to TNA, I wasn't buying that. I didn't like it. I turned it off. I didn't like it. I'm giving it a D because it's AJ Styles, and I know AJ Styles did the best he could. I know he made it funny, but it was just the whole thing was hard for me to watch. Just watching Ric Flair after he retired, it was hard to watch. So he made the most out of it. So for that, I won't give it an F. I'll give it a D.
Juan?
Well, I like AJ Styles. I think he's a great talent. He's always shown talent, and that's no doubt. That they thought that they needed to give Ric Flair help to get over is kind of interesting. You know, to say, hey, let's pair you with one of the hottest guys we have, and he's going to act like you. What do you think, Nate? Am I getting a check? Woo! You know, I had a show recently about Ric Flair. Well, it wasn't about Ric Flair, but at the end, I had to talk about his retirement match. And I went back to Shawn Michaels, just like Ice did. That's when he should have walked away. The cowboy walks away, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But no, he went to TNA. He goes here, he goes there. And then he has another, this is my retirement match, sells out an arena. And then he's back wrestling the next week. The guy doesn't know when to just say, hey, thanks, guys. I've had a great career. He can't do that. And to throw AJ Styles in the mix with a person like that is terrible. It's terrible booking. It's lazy booking. It's like, let's just get him hot real quick with our audience. Who do we pair him with? AJ Styles. So I'm going to give that an F.
All right. So we've got a C, a D, and an F. I'm gonna go with Juan because I feel it's an F. That'll go for 2, and that'll overpower. No, a C and a D.
I don't feel bad. I mean, I'm fine with it being
fine.
an F too because it was like who won?
Like I said, it was cheap.
Yeah.
Not even that. When you saw that WrestleMania match, that was beautiful. That is one of my favorite matches. One of my favorite Ric Flair matches. So there's one. It ended the way his career should have ended.
I'll agree.
I love you. Super kick. Laid him out. Sean's crying. He's crying. Sean gets out the ring. He has the ring to himself. WrestleMania goes crazy. Thank you, Rick. That should have been it. The next 2 weeks or however when he was in TNA, I never needed to see that.
Yeah.
God, he was there
no
for
one did.
months. Yeah, I agree.
Take the retirement check and go harass a waitress.
Oh.
All
I
right.
thought it was an airline attendant.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sorry. It was a stewardess.
Well, he started on the ground, right? And then...
Okay. Yeah, that's true. Pumps.
All right. So next up, we got Becky Lynch, Irish, which that's always been her thing. So I'm not quite. Was this NXT? Like or
this
like
was the start of like when she went from NXT into the main roster.
Okay.
This is when they overdid, like they was like, oh, you're Irish? That's your whole personality.
Yeah.
Let's have you go out there and do an Irish jig. Let's have you go out there to Irish music, and let's just book this solidly on the fact that you're Irish.
All right. I'm gonna go D. It is a terrible sounding gimmick, but she does talk pretty and she's nice to look at. I know. I know that's shitty. She's really good. She's a fantastic wrestler. But like, if they're leaning into the Irish, that means they're going to have her push her accent a little harder than she normally would. They're going to have her dancing around. I'm sorry. I'm still a guy. I hate that I have to say this, but I'm going to go with D. That it's not that bad. But I'm going to shut up and I'm going to let Juan say what he has to say.
Well, she didn't come out with a leprechaun, so that's one plus. You know, they could have sent her out there with Fit Finlay as her manager. You know, little things like that they didn't do. They said, you're going to get over by being super Irish, okay, but on your wrestling talent. For that reason alone, I'm going to give her a B because she proved herself in the ring well enough that they moved the character on. They let her develop more. And for that to be the beginning, for them to say, this is what you're going to do. And if you're good at it, you'll probably move up. And she did. She has become one of the best women's champions that they've had. And I mean, I'm not going to put a date time on that date stamp or anything, but she's one of the top ones. One of the other ones is right behind me. Lita.
Mm-hmm.
Woohoo.
So you said C?
B.
B. All right. I'm at D. Juan's at B. Ice, where are you at?
This was her character, like this wasn't on the main roster, and I'm trying to remember where was it at in NXT. I believe this was like OVW or something like that, right?
No, this was transition period.
This was her NXT to WWE. This was the main roster.
She did not. She came in with the goggles and stuff in the main roster.
She didn't. No, she didn't start with the steampunk gimmick right away. Yeah, she didn't start with steampunk right away.
Because I remember the green outfits on TV.
The green and gold. They were testing her on main roster on SmackDown.
That's crazy.
That's what she got that from. Is they were trying like, oh, how do you work here? Let's put you on SmackDown for a couple of squash matches. Let's see how the crowd reacts to you. The crowd fell in love with her in that Irish gimmick.
I'll give it a C. I mean, whatever she got through it. She got through it. So like, she took the gimmick and made it work, and she is the biggest. She's one of, well, I guess there is probably a tie between her and Flair, Charlotte Flair, as far as the top girl in the company. So yeah, I mean, I give it a C.
No, I'm gonna be good. He doesn't realize the can of worms he opened with that one.
Okay. I'm sorry.
I'm gonna be good. Ice, you and I will talk about that one later.
Oh,
no. I mean, I'm gonna be honest. I'm gonna be honest. Charlotte is probably the top female wrestler in professional wrestling. I'll go on record to say that. I will say, out of the horsewomen, Becky Lynch is the worst wrestler out of the horsewomen.
Ollie, what's your take on Becky Lynch?
Okay, I remember this, and I remember that she did in fact have help from Finlay. It was not out there, but he was the one guiding the entire action of the backstage, because I know she's talked about that years later of how Finlay was the one to help her. Like, she did not want to do the Irish gimmick. She thought it was weird. She thought it was kind of charactery, like not really a genuine thing. And he was like, go play it, see how it works. And she did, and it worked. I'm in between a C and a B, because here's the thing. She did make it work. The crowd did fall in love with her over the gimmick, and I think that's what catapulted her up. Had she not have had that, she probably would have never gotten the steampunk gimmick, which is what really skyrocketed her up. The way she played it, I have to give it probably a B.
All right. Well, I'll defer to B. I'll do that. I'll move my you made some solid points. I'll move my up, because what did I say? C, right?
I think so.
Yeah, we'll go B. I like Becky.
I will agree with you though on one thing. She is pretty to look at.
Yeah, I like Becky. I mean, who doesn't like the man? All right, so Abaddon is up next. I actually liked Abaddon's gimmick. I didn't understand it. I didn't fucking get it. I'll be 100% honest with you. But the wrestlers that come out with that darker slant, and the ones, I'm a sucker for face paint. I don't know what it is. But like Abaddon's gimmick of just being this weird, otherworldly, demonic, whatever. Like I said, I didn't get it. I didn't understand it, but I didn't hate it. So I'm gonna say C. I'm gonna go with not that bad. Ollie, what do you say?
I'm torn on this one because I only did get to see a very little bit of Abaddon. There wasn't a lot of it. I'm gonna side with you on one thing. The wrestlers that come out with the darker gimmicks and the face paint and the actual character story from that get me every time. And I think it has a lot to do with our love of horror in general, because
Pretty
it pulls
sure.
from there. Yeah. The gimmick was pretty good from what I saw. They didn't do a lot with it. There was nothing really for them to do. Abaddon didn't fit their frame at that point in AEW alone. I give it a B. It wasn't terrible. We just didn't see a lot of it. If we had seen more of it, I'd probably slap it into A tier.
And
But we didn't see a lot.
And that's probably why I'm like, I didn't understand it because we didn't get enough of it. But who knows? Ice, what do you say?
Nah, I wasn't feeling that at all.
No?
Nah, not at all. Like I don't even like characters like that. Like it doesn't do anything for me. It's a total. I mean, I could see how some people can like it, but for me, it's a disconnect. So I'm gonna go with an F. And I just wasn't feeling it.
All right, Juan, what do you say?
I enjoyed the character of Abaddon. I too am a horror fan, and I like the look that she came out with. It was unique. I agree that that was one you can't have for too long, because there's only so much of the creepy crawly thing that you can do, and then people are like, can they do anything else? You know, and like. I've noticed in TNA they have a lot of women wrestlers like Susie that does that, and there's another one where she comes out with all the face paint and everything, but they've changed the makeup a little bit. They're not as horror based. Susie changes about every few months. It looks like one time she's got glasses on and no makeup and anything. Next time she's scared and just wandering around. If Abaddon had been given a chance to develop, I think she could have done a good job for AEW. But you just don't see a character like that in main event status. You just don't. And that's the problem with those kinds of looks. She looks like a zombie. You know, who's going to have a zombie hold their belt? You know? And that was the problem. You guys would, of course, but the problem is she just couldn't get over with that gimmick completely because it hits a wall. But I will give her a B for the way she sold it, because she did do a very good job using that gimmick.
2 C's, a B, and an F. I think that's C territory still.
Can I bring up a point with that really quickly? You said who would let a zombie hold a belt, but I'm sorry, isn't that the only thing the Undertaker's ever did?
Now zombies eat brains. The father of
I never saw Abaddon eat a brain.
We don't know what Taker does in his time off.
Yeah, that's true.
Michelle McCool, that's your answer.
Yeah,
Sorry.
No one can blame him.
Oh God, no.
All right, we're gonna run with C on that one. We'll give Abaddon C status, as I'm not sure on the law of averages because we're all over the place there. My math teacher is weeping. The one-man gang.
That's not the one-man gang, bro.
No.
They killed the one-man gang.
That is not the one-man gang.
That's Akeem, the African
That's
dream.
Akeem, the African dream.
Okay.
I wrote it down on the first thing I saw. I corrected it on my other paper and then wrote that one down.
Yeah, I don't have the other paper.
Can I go first?
Go ahead, Juan.
I'm going to start with saying Thanos should snap that out of existence, and here are my reasons. The one-man gang, before he became Akeem, was a force to be reckoned with. Just the name you think of, one-man gang, and then this huge man walks out there with his attitude in the moon, and all the stuff he did. Sometimes he'd come out there with chains, and he was they call him Chicago something, but as the one-man gang, I watched him in so many other territories destroy people. He was a destroyer of people, and he came there, and they said, "You know what? Your gimmick is pretty good, kid, but we got an idea for you. Think about this. You're from Africa. No. Now listen to me. We're going to give you a nice little hat. We're going to give you a shirt so nobody has to see you under the shirt. And you're going to go out there and dance. That's what people want to see from you. They want to see you dance. They don't want to see you destroy people. This is only wrestling. Thanos, make it disappear."
Yeah. When you think about it now, it's actually funny that Vince. Okay, so another reason why he's the one man gang. This was a fuck you and I guess a way to make fun of Dusty Rhodes, because they felt Dusty Rhodes had jive talk, or he talked, a certain way. The fact that they gave him a black manager, Slick, and I used to like Slick, but it was, in all honesty, this definitely, no matter how much, of course now it ain't funny. Back then, it was kind of, people thought it was funny, but now, this is going into Thanos territory. I mean, they turned the one man game was a force, a badass. And I'm guessing he was one man gang. Where was he before? I know he did the territory, but where was he before?
I saw him in World Class Championship Wrestling, Fritz von Erich's territory.
Right. So he was in World Class.
Yeah.
So it wasn't a Vince character. And Vince was notorious for taking characters that was over in other places and repackaging them.
Vince McMahon? No.
So let's go ahead and keep him in F, and we don't need to see him no more.
Ollie?
I was too young to.
I'm sorry, I said F.
Fully.
I'm sorry.
I was too young.
Yeah.
Cool.
There's no way for me.
Everything you've said I've hated, so there we go. All right. David Arquette in WCW. Now, I know why David Arquette was there. David Arquette was there because he was a huge wrestling fan growing up. And his time when he was with the WCW was also while I believe he was filming Ready to Rumble, which is why you see a lot of the WCW wrestlers in that movie. Man, I don't know, because he wasn't... I'm just gonna go with C. I can't give you any solid reasons why I enjoyed it other than I enjoyed it. So I'm going with C. And I know it's a terrible ranking because he probably should be an F or Thanos snapped, honestly. I just like David Arquette, man. I can see everyone's looks of disapproval. And I can feel them from you watching at home. I understand. But
Even scared yet.
Yeah.
He's already disappointed.
Ice, you seem the most disappointed, so I'm going to let you go first. But
this was an abomination. that belt, that big belt, that's prestigious. That is one of you can't put something like that on David Arquette.
Yeah, you can't get paid for it.
At that time, David Arquette, yes, he was a fan. I will give David Arquette props now because he's been in the business and he's taken some crazy bumps. I mean, I'm pretty sure we all seen some of the stuff he's done or what he's been through in the ring now. I still wouldn't put that belt on him. Not that belt. Put the 24/7. Put one of those stupid belts. Not that belt. Not that. Ric Flair had that belt. Oh God, no, not that was an abomination. And whoever wrote that, and it might have been what's the guy's name? Vince Russo probably wrote that shit.
Oh God.
No, you cannot do that. That was horrible. Thanos snap.
Well, I'm pretty sure he got the belt put on him because of the movie. I think that's the only reason.
Yes, but still, you can promote that movie a different way. You can promote that movie anyway, but besides putting the belt on David Arquette.
All right. Ollie, your thoughts on David Arquette?
Your acting career is not my wrestling gimmick.
Exactly.
Get out.
Thanos snapped it is. Juan?
All right. We were talking about the Miz earlier.
Uh-huh.
David Arquette was like a talentless Miz.
I think he still is.
Okay. Now he goes to GCW and I'm going to do death matches. He wants respect. Dude, you should have earned the respect way before. Fans with money. That's what he was, a fan with money. Mm-hmm. Even in the movie, he didn't do his own stunts. Oliver Platt didn't do his own stunts. Kanyon did that. Mm-hmm. I mean, why not give Kanyon the belt? Say, hey, he was the body double for the guy who was supposed to be like Jerry the King Lawler in the movie. kind of a cheap knockoff, but that's what he was. And yet they slap it on David Arquette in a triple cage match with Dallas Page helping him.
Mhm.
Dally should be ashamed of himself for that. It's ridiculous that just because he was in the movie, and yeah, you're going to the right spot.
Yeah.
I could read the room.
But the whole thing with this was that this is when WCW was headed toward the end.
Yeah.
And between Eric Bischoff and Vince Russo, I think they were trying to see who could be worse for wrestling. So I can do something stupider than you. Watch this. And then David Arquette walks in the door. That's it. I'm sorry.
Anything
you're
you
out.
can do, I can do dumber.
That was WCW in a nutshell in the last 2 years. That was it. Stupid after stupid.
All right. The ECW Zombie. I do not remember this one. So, Ice, do you have recollection of the ECW Zombie?
I do not.
Juan?
No.
Ollie?
Did he ever make TV?
All right.
None of us know.
I'm pretty sure Thanos
Hold on.
did snap him out of existence.
Thanos snapped him out of existence.
I'm gonna look it up.
Yeah.
Because
just tell me who it was.
Oh my God! No wonder none of us remember him. Do you remember the ECW revival they did on Sci-Fi back in 2006?
No, because I didn't
gosh.
watch ECW at all.
I did. I loved
What?
ECW originally, but that revival, it was fun in some spots, but it was a little weird. Yeah, it was bad. Tim Arson is his name, and he played the ECW Zombie. He worked in New Wrestling Stars and World Wrestling Council. He was all over the indies, but the ECW Zombie didn't really do anything. Okay. He won. He appeared as himself in a dark match on Raw against Matt Striker on Heat as well. He did
The
some.
teacher versus the zombie.
Right.
Yeah. He appeared the following night on ECW as a zombie, in which he lost to the Sandman after taking several shots to the head, and then he kind of just disappeared.
All right. Well, Thanos snapped him out of existence.
I concur.
All right. Next up, we got Xavier Woods, but Xavier Woods as the 90s kid.
That's what I called it.
What was it really, though? Like, what was the gimmick at that point, other than he was just
Xavier Woods.
okay,
pretty much
personification of a 90s cliche.
They announced him from the same town that like the Power Rangers would hail from, and then every time he would go to do a special move, he would shout, "It's morphin' time."
Okay.
Everything was
That
kind of
sounds
90s
pretty
video
bad.
game aesthetic.
It sounds pretty bad.
I don't remember this, but I will say this: Xavier Woods is a phenomenal wrestler, and I love him on the mic. I love him in the ring. You know, I love him away from wrestling. He's like one of those just all around solid dudes. This gimmick,
talent personified.
yes, this gimmick sounds terrible though.
Yeah, that sounds pretty bad.
Tacky.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with F. I'm gonna drop my first F bomb, and that gimmick sounds terrible. Not quite Thanos snapped out of existence, because I think with the proper writers, it could work in some fashion, but it does not sound like they had the proper writers.
No, well,
Ice, go ahead.
okay, I'm gonna go into mine.
Please do.
This sounds like it was him. This sounds like this was not writing. This was him. This is something he wanted to do, and it just took a while for the minor tweaks with his character and the things he likes to get to where it needed to be for it to be palatable for us to consume. I'm gonna give it a D. I'm not gonna snap it out of existence. I'm not gonna totally give it an F, because if you think about it, I mean, he was doing kind of like video games. He was 90s kid. He was doing video game stuff in the Mighty Morphin Power Ranger time. It's not too far away from where he
Landed.
is now.
Yeah.
It took some minor tweaking. This wasn't bad writing. This was him, and he figured it out. So I'm not gonna totally write it off. It was just his starting point.
Okay, Juan.
Yeah, I agree with Ice right there. I think he's out there doing his own thing. They're kind of giving him guidelines as to what he can do, and he develops himself. And I think as writing got the gist of what he could do, they developed him into what he became. So I think this being the beginning, it was kind of rough, as far as yelling out morphin time and things like that. But eventually it got him to Bootios.
They help you not be booty.
Bootios.
Yeah, and they help you not be booty.
Yeah, I give him a D. A D.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a D.
Ollie, what was your ranking?
I didn't really have one yet. I'm torn on this one. I get that it was him. It wasn't fully him. He wanted to go a little bit more upscale with it. He wanted a little bit more the full 90s music, the 90s like kind of lighting. He wanted all of his outfits to be kind of 90s themed. He wanted to fully go with it. And they were like, that's a lot of budget for somebody we don't know. But I remember Xavier Woods when he was Consequences Creed. He has what it takes to make a good gimmick. He always did. The fact that they didn't let him go with that is what ties it down for me. I'd give it a C.
All right. I don't have any issues with that. General consensus, C range. Yeah. For me, you guys are right from what it sounds like. Is if this was, it's kind of like learning to cook. You got to make a bunch of shitty grilled cheese sandwiches before you learn to cook a 7-course dinner. And it sounds like he was currently making shitty grilled cheese sandwiches.
The law of averages is bad already, but I think that might be the worst average you've ever come out with.
Yeah, that's probably still a D.
Okay.
You got 2 Ds.
Hey, I'm wrong. I'm a married man. I am wrong often.
I'm often wrong.
Just correct me. I'm used to that too. Moving on. I like the boogeyman. I like the gimmick. It's weird. It's creepy. It's out there. Again, being a horror fan, I think that's probably why I lean that way. I'm gonna say anywhere from for me, it's B, because it works for me every single time. The boogeyman is always fun to see, so I'm gonna give it a B. Ollie?
I watched this come to fruition. I watched the vignettes on this one. I watched all of this, and the most vivid memory I have of the boogeyman is when that giant mole that was on Jillian's face, and he bit and pulled it off. I remember watching that being terrified. He would always pop up into weird places. I do think it went on too long. I think it become less of a fear thing, which is what they were trying to do. It was trying to be creepy. It was trying to be a little gross because of the worms. It ended up becoming a laughing stock. It ended up becoming a little, this is weird saying it, but a little too gimmicky instead of actually being the gimmick. It became more of like oh, we don't know what to do with you this week. You've disagreed with what we said. Now you're going to face the boogeyman. But why? What was they didn't have anything to actually further that storyline after the Jillian thing.
Like it became too aware of itself?
Not even that. Like it wasn't. He would pop up in random matches. He would pop up behind, like Teddy Long would be cutting a promo and like, or talking, or in like, I'm going to put you in a tag team match. And over his shoulder, the camera would pan out of nowhere. And the boogeyman would be standing back there with like worms. It didn't make any sense. I'm going to give it a B simply because I enjoyed it and I thought it was fun. But it went on too long and it didn't really, they didn't have anything for him after a while.
All right. Juan, what do you think?
The way the guy got on the show is interesting. When the whole tough enough thing, and he lied about his age and all that. I mean, he wanted it that bad, and I think they threw him in a gimmick like that to see how bad he really wanted it. Number one. Number two, I can't tell if the guy was actually a good wrestler or not, because his matches were so it's like if I was in a match with you, Ice, and I just go out there and just start spitting worms at you, what are you going to do? What the hell is this guy
Run.
doing? I'm out of here, you know? And then Teddy Long, oh, if you quit that match, you're fired, you know, or something like that. So it was never really getting the boogeyman over. It was about punishing or doing something to the other wrestler. So it made him a B-side. So with that, I'd have to give him a B.
All
He
right.
was a plot tool.
MacGuffin. Ice, what do you say?
All right, so like I previously said, I'm not really into the whole horror, bloody and stuff like that. This is why I said I think I gave Abaddon a F. I'm just not. It's a disconnect for me when I'm trying to go between wrestling and horror and gore and stuff like that. But here is where I'm not giving the boogeyman an F, because we rarely saw the boogeyman. He like you said, he popped up randomly. We never really got a real match out of him. I can't think of any real match we got out of him. So when he comes back and they still bring him back every night. We rarely see him, so it's not annoying me that much. When I see him on the screen, I might get a laugh or two out of it now because it's just silly. I don't think it was meant to be silly at first, but it quickly became something silly. So I'm gonna go with a C. I'm gonna go with a C with the boogeyman. It's not bothering me, and in fact, I've probably gotten more laughs out of him than anything. So
3 B's and a C mean that's a B.
I believe so.
Yeah. Like I said, I think
I'm a
that's what
dad, okay?
I think that's what it comes down to. Is it was a good gimmick. That's all it was. It was a gimmick, and because they didn't overuse it, and because it didn't get a chance to actually wear out. That's why you're still entertained by it to this day. At least that's my opinion.
I bet Vince McMahon loves this guy. I bet you this shit made him laugh every time he saw it.
I got that guy to put worms in his mouth. I did that.
Watch this. He's eating worms.